Welcome to this segment of Soul, Silence, and Sound. This is brought to you by BeSimply.
Stars, trees, clouds, and the moon. They all have a meaning and they look just like you.
Welcome to the segment of Soul, Silence, and Sound. I want to thank you for being here in this moment, and this is a Mind You and Food segment brought to you by BeSimply. And these are the deeper contemplations behind my writings on Substack. You can subscribe. The link is below. And this is a opportunity, if you wish, to just sit and reflect and know in life that, especially at the rate that we have been conditioned and programmed to move, we sometimes forget that it's really healthy to reflect and be. And one thing I've learned from my elders is that it's okay not to answer sometimes at all, or 24 hours or 48 hours, to give yourself time to digest and just even to contemplate a question. And here on planet Earth at this point, we tend to turn and burn information and swipe left, down, right, center. So I invite you right now just to take a little bit more of a pause and a deeper reflection on the words I shared this week. So we have entered into this new moon cycle. Again, no matter how you feel about the moon, it is here in the room with us, like many things in life. And I would say that most of humanity would agree that things have been rather like heated in the sense of on the front of humanity and global situations, coupled with maybe community situations, a lot of vulnerability. And so as we enter into this cycle that we're into, there's an opportunity, if you so to choose, to calibrate within yourself. And we also are moving into summer and winter. That process has started. We're here, and it's time of movement and action, creation energy, that fire, great time to catalyze a lot of shifts internally and externally. And then we have water. It's a time of repose. So you think about it, that nature is welcoming us to do both things simultaneously, one in different regions of the world, but also from within. So it's really that movement that creates the harmony and the balance, especially in the dynamic ecosystem that we are existing here in the earth plane and in our collective consciousness. So with that being said, what felt really important, and this calibration, this energy of calibration that I talked about a little bit in the new moon talk, is really just a harmonic. It's like you're going harmonic and frequency. So if you want to harmonize with someone in the sense of a song, you would sing, and maybe you have different voices, but you can find harmony with one another within that tune, if you will. Think of like row, row, row your boat. You can do that in rounds and people can harmonize, but maybe you have sopranos and baritones and all different voices that can lead in and harmonize. And that becomes the calibration in that moment. And so this is very important in our day-to-day world around us, because sometimes we can harmonize with one another and other times we can't. And it's almost like repelling one another. And really, those moments aren't necessarily meant to be judged. Those are the complexity of the universe in action, because we are an electromagnetic field, and we might actually be propelled apart at a given moment, and then our magnetism will bring us back together again at another moment. And so if on a daily basis you work to calibrate and really find your rhythm, you will have a much more more effortless time, to see where the calibration is and where you are destined to repel someone, or they're destined to repel you, and where you're to magnetize. And again, if we can approach it like just changing music, on your playlist or in a live situation, that some things will resonate and some will not. And so during this dynamic moment where things are slowing down in one part of the world and getting more active in another, this is a great moment to nourish your mind stream with joy. And I shared about this, the importance of it, especially in traumatic situation. And so some people might have issue with that. And it's I'm not going to say that it's easy to do, but I've been in many traumatic situations, some that would classify it under complex PTSD, and then others that are a singular traumatic moment. Both are have an aftermath, and they don't necessarily end when the event ends. And depending how we meet it, it can continue. And so over the course of my lifetime, I have learned about myself, and I've also learned that I have the power of choice. And I've spent a lot of time deep in nature by myself, leading groups there. And when you sit with yourself in nature all alone, and wild animals come up and all kinds of things start happening, you realize how calm it is. And you also realize that it's not this like aggressive environment that might be depicted. And really, humans in general are kind of like become, in some sense, apex predators, not because that's our innate way of being, but because we've been influenced mainly by the media that we take in. And this is why it takes a discipline to decide, okay, I can stay informed, but I don't have to stay in the trauma loop, the fear loop, all those things. And I have a choice to step out of that and then choose joy and calm. And I can share from even like being out in nature and some really fascinating situations where the animals are scared, where there's predatory animals like mountain lions going out for the hunt, and nature responding, and being by myself in remote areas, contemplating what that means in the moment. And what I always come to is calm. Like I want to be calm in all those situations. And then also nature is like, it returns to calm quite quickly. And so all the animals that are part of the cycle, like we're part of the natural cycle, choose calm in the very next moment or the very next day. It's us that chooses to hold on to our past and project into our future. And so maybe the great fortune of being a human is that we have the opportunity to decide if we want to retain calm, and we want to choose joy and meet each moment respectfully for ourselves and others, but with that understanding that we can choose that. And so when we look at PTSD and complex PTSD and thinking about choosing joy, I will share a story. I work in birth, life, and death transitions. And when my brother was ill, he had asked me to stay with him, that I was to exit him out of his body, help him like at his last moments, give him his final rites, and do his services, meaning his funeral celebrations. There ended up being 2. And one day I was like on the way up to see him at UCLA in Santa Monica. And I just was going up this main road through where I live into this airport area. I'm going to keep it more obscure just because there are people that are related to the story and want to respect their privacy. But my car had a mind of its own. I was on a phone call with a friend, hands-free, And I was all of a sudden pulled into the backside of this airport where the private planes go out of. And I got off the phone. I'm like, I don't know why I'm going here, but I am. And I pulled right in front of the gate, this big gate, and there was a plane on fire. I immediately got out. It had just crashed, and went and stared and was like, wow, why was I brought here? And as I sat there and stared and was very like, oh my gosh, I don't know how anyone's going to survive this. I said some prayers and knew there's nothing I could do. I couldn't like run over there because I was separated by a barrier. The fire engines were coming. So I prayed, and I was like, that was intense. I can still feel it in my heart. But I got in the car, and as soon as I was pulling out to get back on the road to get on the 405, I was like, all of a sudden saw these 4 ravens, and they were circling, and I felt the souls of that were on that plane that didn't make it. And all I felt was all this like just joy and peace. And it really, that what they were communicating was like that there's just joy and peace even in this tragic moment. And it was so strong. I sat with it, and I went and saw my brother and my family, and had shared it. It was like 4 boys just reflecting that there's just peace and joy and love, and to feel in the like kind of Leela of life from one end to the next. And so that stayed with me. And then 2 hours later, I get a call from my friend, and she said, because I let her know that there was this plane crash and what had happened. She said, you know what, who was on that plane? And it was a family friend of ours, as one of the people that didn't make it. And I was just like, whoa, that's like so powerful. Like, this person is all the 4 people that passed, all were leaving family behind and children, and yet their souls were immediately reflecting to me joy and peace and love. And I still to this day feel so blessed to have got that lesson from them. And not to say, because I've been at many deaths and transitions, there isn't grief. And at birth, there's just as much grief, because that soul's coming from one place into the next. However, I will say, when it's met with joy, when it's met with freedom, can be much lighter for everyone. And just a few weeks ago, I talked to a woman that she had that experience with her father. And I said, I'm so glad that you had this experience of joy at death. And it's kind of like, if you can imagine, it's like a release from a situation that has held so many different experiences. But ultimately, your exit is held in joy. The divine energy is held in that bliss. One, so that the soul moves on, that can carry on and doesn't get stuck. Just getting strong shivers right now. So I share this because the same equates to nature, that it's immediately like whatever has to happen in the cycle that we have that currently exists, there's a release, and that divine energy is joy that carries on. And if we hold on to that with the spirit and in our mind, it helps the soul continue on, helps us continue on, and it can start to give us a different lens of how to meet maybe these difficult moments. Like, a death is very traumatic to all the people that are left behind. Your own trauma is something very difficult. Yet if we choose to let the divine, the joy, the bliss lift it off, that is so beautiful, and it creates a sense of ease. And it's not to say after those moments there isn't healing to do. And what I talked about in the first article was that in future moments, I consciously chose joy. I could start to see it differently, where I was like, okay, I can feel the momentum of grief coming my way, or do I choose to create with this energy and find joy? And for me, and the memory I share was to choose creation and joy. And then that experience led me to like being around all these kids. Like I channeled all that energy into a children's book. And I was able then to go around to bookstores and read to children and see them get excited and do activities with them. And again, like these bookends for death and birth and birth and death. And it's so beautiful. And so even when we have like a in-life death, meaning if you've gone through trauma, if you, that's a literal death that you're going through, a traumatic event in your physical body, yet you don't get to exit out. But I can let you know that there is joy there because I played with it and I will continue to play with it. And even when those embeds, because trauma is one of those things that will continue to hold an electromagnetic field until it completely dissipates. And so until we can completely walk around the trauma and authentically feel its neutrality, because sometimes people numb to it, they could see it, but it's like in a glass cube and they haven't really accessed the motion of it and the diffusing the electrical energy. And so we can still use the practice of joy every time we need it. And for some people that might feel like not appropriate because they haven't been taught that way, or they haven't been allowed, to do that. And I've shared on other broadcasts, like when I go and counsel people at death, we laugh. Like I want to laugh with them. I want their last memories in this physical suit to be full of joy when it's possible. It's not something you force, you let it naturally come up. And I think most people's discomfort with having traumatic things happen to them, complex traumatic things happen to them, and even the perception of what death is, that we refute joy, we refute the divine, we refute the bliss, because we feel like we have to be held to this thing that we don't completely understand. It's like putting it in a box, and that's what creates the suffering in our physical body, our heart, our mental body, our emotional body. So in the mind, if we allow ourselves just to welcome in a little bit of a satire, and just to keep it, especially in a progression, a sudden traumatic event is one thing, but there are a lot of slow traumatic events that happen, especially when people are the caretakers for someone that might have cancer, someone that has a lifelong condition that the whole family has to carry. So rather than be burdened by that, we can create levity with that. And it's super helpful. In yogic tradition and Tibetan tradition, laughter is brought in just to dissipate that energy that's pulling one down. Sometimes, because I love to laugh, it comes out in sessions and times where it may not seem appropriate, but once people get to know me, they understand. But I do try to have some awareness with that and call it out so they understand that it's not to be disrespectful. So if any of you out there have been dealing with trauma, complex trauma, and or have lost someone or a situation, sometimes losing a job, having to let go of people, places, and things can create this downward pulling energy. And what I was suggesting is that really if we look at levity and finding that levity on a daily basis when maybe past rises up, or when we're in the immediate fire of it all. And so I'm going to right now, I think, because that's something to really contemplate. And I would say, I'm going to play a song. It's called Beauty Is. And I would say where we start to have the dissonance is that we hide that, we shove it down, and then it comes out in all different directions. And sometimes these traumatic events wire us to kind of mask up, to put on masks, to like not let people know we're going through really difficult times. Because people aren't comfortable, with their own stuff, let alone other people. I can promise you that from working in wellness for the past almost 2 decades, that the society at large wants to have fun. They don't want to take on your burdens. And so that's why you go to someone like myself or another practitioner to help you. So you have an outlet to like work through some of these things that are coming up in the mental, physical, emotional body. And so when we start stuffing down that trauma, that can actually create a barrier and a disconnect from actually knowing thyself, loving thyself. That's another thing that's so important to rely on, especially when we're met with adversity in our life. So what we're going to do right now, so you can digest that, is just take a nice gentle breath in. And then I'm going to play a song, exhale out when you're ready, by Kadri Scott. It's called Beauty Is. I'll let the words meet you, and I'll be back on the other side to give you a little bit more food for thought.
What makes it beautiful, the way it is, the way it looks at you, the way it lives, the way it feels, the way it gives, the way you call it mine and grasp onto it. But if ill-intended, true beauty will fade, can't be manufactured, not man-made. It's brewed in the soul like a fine wine, with a little bit of love and a little bit of time. 'Cause beauty is as beauty does, only some have that touch. It's hard to find but easy to follow. Beauty is as beauty does until tomorrow. Makes it beautiful, the way you love, the way you lift it up, hold it above, the way it seems to shine under your gaze, the way it leaves you walking in a haze. But if ill-intended, true beauty will fade, can't be manufactured, not man-made. It's brewed in the soul like a fine wine, with a little bit of love and a little bit of time. 'Cause beauty is as beauty does, only some have that touch. It's hard to find but easy to follow. Beauty is as beauty does until tomorrow. Beauty is each their own. If you find it, hold it and don't let go. Hard to find, but easy to follow. Beauty is as beauty does until tomorrow.
That was Kadri Scott with Beauty Is. And if you're inspired, check her out in all the places under Kadri Scott, and the links are below. So if we dive a little bit deeper into that concept, is that your inner beauty, your self-love, exists from within and then beams outward. And when our heart becomes encumbered by grief, by trauma, we store suffering in there. And then when it's not resolved, we start to become bitter, and we send what I call poison arrows out beyond here to people, places, and things. And as you read a little bit further into the Substack, I build upon this idea of laughter and how important it is. And I cite places where people seem really into having scientific proof about a lot of things. But here's what I love researching. So what I'll say about scientific research, one, is that understand it could be manipulated. Number two, the proof is in the result that you experience. So even if we look at something statistically, if something opposite of a study happens to you, it's 100% real. It's not like 1% real. It's 100% real. And sometimes people over-rely on science to make sense of things or to give themselves permission to try things. However, if you practice laughing more, you will find that you're lighter, that you have levity in your day-to-day existence. You will smile more. You will look bright and cheery. Stress will fall away, and that's a good thing. And so you don't really need a study, but I gave you some. And this is really important, especially around children. One of my best, not one, there are many times, but the best memories I hold on to in my heart, which are good memories, are my children's belly laughing. And even to this day, when they're laughing, just brings me back to that pure laughter that is not encumbered. And at any given moment, we can return back to that state if we so to choose. And it's weird because sometimes now as adults, quote unquote adults, people feel like they need perversion and things that aren't necessarily always appropriate. It's more like, I don't know, preteen teen humor to maybe really extreme humor as adults. And what I would say is the mind can go there, but if you bring it back to the purest form, like if you think of a child, they're laughing at like some pretty precious things that are just beautiful, and they don't have this twist that humans' delusional mind has imposed upon it. So that's something for you to think about, and especially if you have children or grandchildren, to think about, are you laughing with them? And if so, what are you laughing about? And there's a caveat to that, because teasing, a lot of times families will get together and they'll pick on one or two and tease and laugh, but that isn't the laughter I'm talking about. Laughter that just naturally bubbles up. You maybe can remember a time when you were in school, grade school, and someone started laughing and everyone started laughing. It became contagious. Just this pure, funny moment that didn't have to do with degrading someone, teasing them, or something that was crude and lewd. It is something that was just pure. And so it might be you fall down and you think it's hilarious and you laugh, all those kinds of things. So understand that this laughter can not only help the developmental phases of our children that we're rising up, but it also can repair trauma. So that is a super helpful way, so that if you've gone through trauma and you're not out of the recovery phase and into the repair phase, I really encourage you to find some things to laugh with. And this could be a funny friend. It could be funny media, heartwarming media, something that just really fills your heart. And that could be one of the major blessings on social media. There are some very pure, funny things, and that's nice to see. And that can help you even in your own solitude to start to recover and repair, especially the physical mind and the physical rest of your physical body and your heart center. And your soul, because understand that anything that encumbers the mental, physical, or emotional body is encumbering your soul. And so that laughter, literally on an electromagnetic field or lens, lets it erupt and move it out. And that's why you will see, I brought this up before, animals will shake, they'll literally shake it off, and they're quicker to release trauma, except for domesticated animals, because we impose certain things on them that they start to mimic how we hold on to our trauma. So if inspired, you'll read. You can read through these. I'm not going to regurgitate them to you right now, but you can read. And the main premise is that, yes, there's some science, but just laugh. Find places to laugh. And not even if you're inspired, I'm just going to say do it. Just go for it. It will benefit you greatly. And then I share in the guise of a little bit talking about death and birth. I share about how I have this unusual gift that when I have someone coming to see me and they've lost a parent or a child or whoever they've lost, before I work with anyone, I have a dreaming attention and I'm accessing their subconscious mind. And then also, if it's someone that's passed, that soul will come, usually, I would say most of the time. And in that instance, often there's a craving. And I find this the most curious thing that happens. It's not always 100%. So if you call me up and you're expecting me to have a craving for your relative, it may or may not happen. But usually when it's just happened, there's a craving. So the soul is yearning for what they've left behind. And I kind of have a little hypothesis about this with the cravings mamas have when they're pregnant, that the soul is remembering what they loved and inspiring the mother to eat those things. Or has a sense of humor. It wants to see how many wild things it can get its mama to eat. Both could be true. But in this, there's this very accurate distillation to me from them about food or a recipe that they love, and they want to experience it. And of course, they don't have the senses that we think of, but they have the vibrational ability to receive that. And so your emotions send a frequency, just like your taste buds, what you're hearing, your mind. We're sending these vibrational frequencies every moment of the day. And so the soul can pick up on that. And if they want to experience it through your being, they can. So in the rest of the letter, I share a recipe. It's not a direct recipe that this individual loves, but I knew this person quite well, and she's been inspiring me to cook a lot of the foods that she would probably normally order if she was going out or cooking for herself. So I share that recipe and a little bit more about that. I'll let that be a reveal if you want to go check it out. And this, again, is another way to create happiness and levity and celebration, especially if you've lost someone. And the reason I talk about this in summer and winter is our time of year we meet death as a seasonal element in Chinese medicine. But in summer, we're nourishing our heart, and we store our suffering in our heart. And so it's good to get together and celebrate. A lot of families have reunions in the summer. It's a good time to come together. And even if you've lost someone recently, it's a great time to have food together and reminisce. And what a beautiful way to access someone by cooking their favorite recipe, or just to be in touch with them. And I would say this is where that comfort food term comes from. It's like true comfort food, what someone loved. And that'll be different from one person to the other. So if inspired, check that out. And then to close out this segment, I'll share a little bit about rose hips. I realized I wrote about this last year, but I wanted to share that hydrosols are very cooling. And actually in death and birth, I use rose water just because there's a need for cooling, and it's very supportive for the individual in that process. But the rose hips are very clearing to the heart. It's hydrating and calming and pacifying. So it can just take a little edge off whatever's happening on either side. Some people might say, well, at death, the person might be cold because of the illness maybe they're in, if it's like a slow build to their exit. It just all depends, but typically when someone is actually meeting their death gateway, they're dehydrated. So the rose is really hydrating. And then for those of you that are enjoying summer or winter sports, this rose water is really beneficial to rehydrate your skin, give it the nourishment that it needs. And at the same time, you can spray it over your heart center and it'll give you nourishment there too. If you don't like the smell of roses, then I encourage you to honor your preference and not abide in it. But there are many other ways. You could use lavender. You could use something like lemongrass hydrosol. There's all different kinds of things. So, and then you'll see I include some sundries that I created recently. And then I want to give you your good news as we exit out of here. Found some more good news that will warm your heart. Maybe it won't make you laugh, but at least make your heart warm. In the Amazon, the rainforest, there's groups out of the UK, conservationists, that they're going to continue to assist in helping with biodiversity, and this unification, these efforts are working with Indigenous leaders and rebuilding in the Amazon forest, which is really important. And we have a similar, Colombia has been doing a lot of great stuff too, and they have created a new marine reserve protecting coral reefs and wildlife. And I hope other countries come along with this, especially the Philippines, if you're listening. They have a really beautiful, biodiverse, magical part of the world. And so Colombia, you seem to be rocking it. I mentioned you last segment. So these efforts are really beautiful and can bring many good smiles to our face. And maybe we are laughing as we run through the water and the forest, getting away from clear cutting and polluting the waters. And then India, shout out to you guys. They have in Leh, India, 5 hydro fuel cell buses powered by solar energy now, and they're cutting 350 tons of CO2, and it's yearly equivalent to planting 13,000 trees. And this initiative brings clean transport to high altitudes, harmonizing technology with nature's rhythm. And so these are exciting things that are happening, and we can smile and celebrate them. And as we exit out, I hope you think about for a moment how you can lighten your mood from the inside out. And 2 surefire ways are laughter and being of service to others. So look for the good news. Maybe it'll inspire you to take on an amazing project to help your community. And from there, it'll just continue to ripple. So we're going to exit out with a little bit more Kadri Scott with Fields of Flowers. And I hope you stay a little bit longer and enjoy it. And if inspired, please support the arts, support all forms of art. Everything is art, in my opinion, even science, and support real human writing, real human music making, art making, industry making. This is important, and many of you have been talking about that MIT paper. I haven't had time to read it yet. 170 pages, but shows how important it is for humans to write their own material. You can do research, whether it's back at the library, I might do an experience, go back there, or on the internet, you can do research, but write, use your brain, come up with your concepts, write them out. It'll give you great joy and keep your brain working. So important. All right, until next time, this is Suzanne signing out with a full heart, a big smile, a deep bow, and a namaste. Be simply.
The way your eyes feel on me makes me feel alright. And the way your mind dreams for me grabs me me and holds me tight.